there are two things left to, I guess, to replace on this XJ before a very long 4,000 mile cross-country trip, but I don't think I'm going to do one of them, and that's the fuel pump. So instead of replacing the fuel pump, I'm going to show you how to test it. So what we've got here is this Maddox fuel injection pump tester from Harbor Freight, and we're going to see if I need to do a fuel pump replacement before I go on my trip. Now this kit comes with, of course, the gauge assembly with some clear hose for your pressure release valve, and it comes with this little, they call it a repair kit. So the standard connector on here fits your Chrysler, Jeep, GM, and that's what we need on there. So you really don't need any adapters, but it does come with a Ford small Schrader valve adapter and some little Schrader valve fittings there for repair of this or on your valve itself. So the first thing you want to do is maybe put a little absorption device there to catch any fuel that might overflow, and take this cap off here, this Schrader valve cap. And next, let's screw the fitting on. Again, on a Jeep you do not need a adapter fitting, but on some vehicles you might. Sorry about the rain noise, but and you want to get a little container for your overflow pressure release valve. So once you've got everything connected, make sure everything's free from your belts. Let's crank it and see what the running pressure is. Alright, so they say good fuel pressure on these old XJs is between 45 and 50 psi, and this is right between that. So, and it is steady, it is not fluctuating. If your needle is fluctuating back and forth, you might can hit this little pressure relief valve and it will vent gas. Make sure you have it into a, as you see there, into a bottle. Don't vent it just on the floor, but it seems to me that we have, see how it's fluctuating back and forth? But it seems to me that the fuel pressure on this XJ is just fine. We are not done with the test yet. We need to let the gauge sit for approximately 5 minutes, and we want to see if this starts bleeding down. If it does bleed down, you have two problems, or you may have one of two problems. The first could be a leaky fuel injector. The fuel injectors will not hold pressure, therefore they'll start leaking into the cylinder. I hope we don't have that issue here because, as you know, all my fuel injectors were replaced on one of my other videos, and I'll try to post a card up there. The other reason why this might bleed down is the check valve in your fuel pump. Now, this is a 2000 model, so I think 98 through 01 have the check valve in the fuel pump. So if this were to bleed down over the next 5 minutes, then I will need a new fuel pump. And another way you can kind of test that without a gauge, if for some reason your XJ is, or your Jeep TJ, whatever has a 4-liter, has a long starting, you can kind of cycle the key back and forth. And if you cycle the key back and forth and then crank it and it fires right up, that means the fuel is bleeding back into your tank. Okay, now it has been over 5 minutes and the needle has not moved any. So what that tells me is that I have no leak down here in my fuel injectors, and my check valve in my fuel pump is holding pressure. Now, is this test going to keep me from breaking down in the middle of nowhere? No, maybe not, but it does give me some extra assurance that my fuel pump, at least the check valves and the pressure point, are working as they should. So this little device is about $30 at Harbor Freight. I think it's well worth the money. And for $30, I now have a peace of mind before I take my trip. Y'all have a great week.